Hi guys, and thank you, live Mark. Pre-recorded Mark here. I hope you're all having a great time at Lift this afternoon. If you can't be with us today and you're watching this after the event, then I hope you're okay as well, and we'll see you when Sam and I next come visiting. So this week we are looking at and thinking about prayer and how to do it. The first thing I want to say is that prayer is one of the most powerful things that you can do as a Christian. Incredible things can happen as you pray, but there are some funny ideas about how you're supposed to do it. So let's take a look at what it's really all about. Whether you're a new Christian or you've been one for ages, you still need to work on your relationship with God. Now, you wouldn't get to know a new person by ignoring them, or talking to them only once, or by falling asleep whilst you're talking to them. You just wouldn't do it, would you? You'd spend time with them and listen to what they have to say. It's the same way with God. You get to know God the more you talk to him. And that's what prayer is, really. It's talking with God. Think of it like having a telephone call. Only you're not talking to someone down the road or in another city or in another country. You're talking to the creator of the universe. So to answer the first thing, what is prayer? It's talking to God. It really is that simple. But now we have to think about the slightly more trickier part of how we do it. Well, first off, it's not tricky at all. You don't just have to do it at church or at Lift. You can chat to God anywhere. On your bike, on your way to school, in the shower, even at McDonald's. Other fast food chains are available. You can pray anytime. In your head or out loud, it doesn't matter. Although it's probably worth checking if there's anyone around if you are going to pray out loud. Otherwise, you might get some funny looks. And sometimes it's good to just go into your bedroom and close the door and pray there too. The next thing we could think about is, how often should I pray? Well, like I said earlier, you wouldn't get to know someone by talking to them just once a year. So chat to God as often as you can. Sometimes that might be lots of times during a day, and sometimes you might forget to chat to him at all. Don't worry if you don't speak to him some days. It's not the end of the world. Next thing we might want to think about is, do we need to pray alone or with friends? Both are brilliant. Sometimes I like to pray with friends, and sometimes I want to pray alone. Doesn't matter. Eyes open or shut? Well, the question there is really, what works best for you? Again, it doesn't really matter. You can do both, and both are good. However, closing your eyes helps me concentrate. But it isn't recommended if you're walking around outdoors, because you might get a nasty surprise. Lastly, what can you say? Anything you like. You don't need to put on a posh voice for God. And they don't need to be epically long. They can be really short. God wants you to be real with him, like you're real with everyone else. I generally work to the idea of saying thank you first, then sorry, then praying for others, and then praying for help prayers. The Lord's Prayer is also really good because it covers everything you might want to say to God if you can't come up with your own words. So that's how we do it. The last thing I want to talk about is, why do I pray sometimes and nothing seems to happen? God does hear all our prayers, but he doesn't always answer them immediately, or even in the way we would expect. But he is God after all, and so he tends to work to his own ideas, not ours. I found that God generally has about 3 answers to prayer. Sometimes he'll say yes, and that's fantastic when he does. Sometimes he'll say no, and that can be a bit frustrating and upsetting. But we need to remember, God always has our best interests at heart. And sometimes he's saying no because what we've asked for isn't the best for us or isn't the best for others. And thirdly and lastly, sometimes he says wait, and we just have to keep praying and trusting in Him. So, that's praying in a nutshell. Just go for it. Try and chat with God every day, if you can. And remember, He really listens to you and knows what amazing things might happen as you pray. Okay, guys, I just want to finish by saying bless you all buckets and thank you for listening, if indeed you still are. Back to you, Live Mark.